sunny and not too bad Tuesday morning in Northeast Ohio. It's going to be actually in the mid-40s today. We're going up to almost 60 on Thursday, which is insane. So good weather for this time of year in Northeast Ohio. Welcome on into the Bullpen, a Bull and Fox edition, as always, on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. I'm Adam the Bull. He's Dustin Fox, and we got to let you know that BetRivers players who place a same-game parlay of at least $10 on NFL or NCAA football games will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. Winning Squares can earn up to a $50 bonus bet per entry. See the BetRivers app or website for full details. All right, later, we'll talk about – I realize we hadn't talked about the Buckeyes since they lost, so we'll get to that later. But before we do, obviously – big news in the NFL, big news for the Browns in the last 24 hours or so, Dustin, and I'll start with you since you have not had a chance to react yet, at least publicly. Kevin Stefanski fired. We'll start with that. We'll get to Andrew Berry after. But I know this seemed like a foregone conclusion at this point, but your thoughts on Kevin Stefanski getting fired officially yesterday?
I mean, I guess it's not a surprise considering, we'd heard that, all the reports that he was basically, dead man walking going into this final game against the Cincinnati Bengals. So it wasn't like surprised that they announced it so quickly, after the season was over. I guess the biggest surprise is that it was not a clean the house type of situation, which means Andrew Berry remains.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Stefanski ends up being the scapegoat here for all of this dysfunction and this disaster that has been the last 6 years. And it's just kind of laughable. And really in Browns true fashion, the Browns remain the team with the least appealing job, firing the coach that's the most popular coach on the market. How about that?
Yeah, I keep hearing that second part. I agree with the first part. We'll see if the second part turns out to be true.
If he's not the most sought after, he'll be the second or third. I mean, the point is he's wanted.
That's true.
Other teams.
There's teams that are interested. I've consistently said that the coaches, with a few exceptions, it's based on the talent. Like I don't know that I don't buy that Kevin Stefanski is some great head coach. I don't think he's awful either, but to me, there's only a handful of coaches that are difference makers, and he's not one of them. I think he's a product of his talent, like most coaches. I don't know. Are you not buying that?
I have no idea. I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's a great coach. I don't even know that there are that many great coaches.
There are. Yeah.
There's a handful, and it's probably one hand.
Yes.
Maybe three coaches that I think are worth multiple wins per season with ever, it doesn't matter who they have
right
at quarterback or talent or whatnot, that they'll get the most out of their team. They'll find a way. Stefanski's probably not one of those guys. The Browns are not going to get one of those guys now.
Well, they could look into a guy who's not there yet.
Someone you've never heard of,
right?
That turns into being a great coach. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
that'd be the only.
What are the odds of that, though?
Yeah, but you're not getting somebody who's established. As being a great coach already.
No, that's true. And the Browns have done it different ways. In the Jimmy Haslam era, they have hired a coach with experience, Hugh Jackson. They've hired coordinators. They haven't hired a guy straight from college, but I don't expect them to do that this time. I would say, Jay yesterday on UCSS said they've hired the hot coordinator. I don't know that they've actually done that. Kevin Stefanski, when the Browns hired him, he wasn't a hot coordinator. If he was a hot coordinator, would he have taken the Browns job? I mean, maybe, because at that point Baker Mayfield was, playing pretty well. So maybe or at least decently, so maybe he would have been. But I don't know. I don't remember Kevin Stefanski being a hot coordinator. He'd only been a coordinator for 1 year at the time. He's definitely hotter now than he was when the Browns hired him, which says something about the Browns, no doubt. I mean, the fact that, and we'll get to the Andrew Berry part of this, but when you look at the potential coach candidates, and the guys put together a list. This was based off Mary Kay's article this morning. Obviously Jim Schwartz is on there, Tommy Rees, who are the two coordinators, Joe Brady, the Buffalo OC, And then you have 4 coaches here who have head coaching. Well, I say Jim Schwartz also has head coaching experience. The other guys have more recent head coaching experience. Robert Saleh, who apparently was one of the 2 finalists for the Browns job 6 years ago. He went to the Jets, as dysfunctional organization as the Browns. Didn't work out there. Brian Flores, obviously it ended with some controversy in Miami. He's been my top choice all along. I think the Browns need a hard-ass coach. Matt Nagy, who is the KCOC, was a disaster in Chicago. And Jonathan Gannon, who's from the area. Do you know him?
I do.
You know him personally?
I do.
Obviously, it didn't go well for him in Arizona. You know, obviously people like him around here. He's a Mount Union guy, isn't he? Or no?
He's not a Mount guy. He went to Louisville.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I thought. I
he
just
played,
assume all these local guys
He played safety for Louisville. Had a he was a starter. Was a really good player. Maybe he could have played in the NFL. I don't know.
Where did he play in high school?
St. Ignatius.
Oh, I guess I should have known that.
Yeah.
It's a bad job.
And then he went to Louisville. We're about the same age, and he had a devastating hip injury when he was playing there, like his junior year, and had to have like a hip replacement, and he's never played after that. So.
Right.
Anyway, but he was a hell of a high school player, hell of a college player, really knowledgeable guy. I got to know him a little bit when he was with the Vikings, when he was at DC. Actually, I met him. He's good buddies with another buddy of mine from Cleveland that you've met. And I connected with him at the Senior Bowl when he was like a secondary coach with the Vikings back in the day, like 2016 or something.
Right.
And then he ends up going to be the coordinator, and then goes to Arizona, and things didn't work out there. I don't know. I mean, the Arizona's one of those places tough to win, kind of like Cleveland, you know.
And the Jets, I mean, when you look at that list, and guys, if you bring up that list again, there are some guys on that list that I'm interested in. Obviously, I've talked about Brian Flores ad nauseum. Brian Hoyer and Aditi Kinkhabwala have also spoken very highly of Brian Flores. Brian Hoyer played, obviously, on the Patriots when Flores was the DC there. And he said, like, he and Flores got into a couple of heated arguments, but he loved it and couldn't speak more highly of him. I'm good. I like the idea of a youngish coach, getting a second chance and being able to learn from their mistakes. I don't like Matt Nagy. It was such a disaster at Chicago. I have bad feelings about him. I don't like the idea of hiring him at all. But Robert Saleh, Brian Flores, Gannon, I either like or I'm open-minded to all of those. Tommy Rees, I know people think highly of Tommy Rees, but he has very little NFL experience. I don't know if I'm comfortable him being the head coach. And in terms of Schwartz, we know he's a great defensive coordinator. Didn't go well his first time. He's 60. Does that matter to you at all? Are you worried about that being too old?
60 to me is not that old.
Okay.
I think if he was 65 or more, I think I'd be a little concerned. Only because I feel like there's a difference, like guys who in their late 60s as opposed to their early 60s. I think you can get a really, like, energy-wise.
Right, yeah.
Just because I'm buddies with, like, older guys because my tennis and stuff, like, and I've seen over the last 5 years guys who were in their 60s and then now they're about to be in their like late 60s. It's a bit of a difference, and it requires a lot of energy to
no doubt,
obviously be a head coach of a football team. Pete Carroll's like in his 70s. You know what I mean? He just got fired.
Yeah.
But I don't know, dude. It's so funny. I don't really have a dog in this fight, like in terms of who I'm picking as my favorite to become a head coach. All these guys are fine. I don't think it's going to matter. I think we heard enough yesterday from the owner in terms of his delusion about the team.
That's a good word.
That makes me think that it really doesn't matter.
Well, that's sad. I mean,
it is. No, Bull. I'm dead serious. Like, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to be like, this is never going to work because we just said it. Like, they might get lucky.
Yeah.
But they're not going to, based on merit and based on, what they've got, like, they're just not going to get, they're not going to hire the right guy.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are against it because they've mostly hired the wrong guy.
And what's so really sad about the situation is if they hire the right guy, they will ruin him.
I mean, it's not unfair to say that. Almost everything they've done has turned to shit. You got to hope.
Brian Flores has like turned his career around, and I think has come out the other side smelling a lot better than he did going into it in terms of like the lawsuit or whatever with the league. And if he comes to Cleveland, like, he'll never get another head coaching job.
Don't you feel like I don't think he's going to get the job here because I
don't think he would take it.
He's going to, well, like because of his situation, maybe he doesn't have other options. I don't know, but I just feel like he's going to, in an interview, he's going to tell Jimmy what's what.
And Jimmy won't like that.
And Jimmy won't like that. And there are other like Josh McDaniels told him. Now, we could debate. I mean, Josh Daniels has not had any success as a head coach, and he's had 2 chances. He's been a great coordinator. Maybe his third time will be the charm. I don't know. But Josh McDaniels was a coach who said, here's how it's got to be. And that put him out. And I think the same here, whereas, a coach that doesn't have that kind of that attitude is more likely to get a job because everything I've heard is Jimmy likes yes men around him.
There is one guy that I love. And,
who's that?
And it honestly, it's more for my entertainment because I think it would just be fun to cover this guy, John Gruden.
I thought you were going to say Deion Sanders. That would
no,
nuts.
No.
But to me, I'm not interested in Gruden. I think he's even, like people were like, well, I don't know if Flores can get a job because of the whole situation with the league. Well, for Gruden, it's even worse. I can't imagine anybody's giving him a job again. Obviously, it would be entertaining, but like he was terrible at his last stop with the Raiders, and he's getting old. It would be entertaining, I agree, but I don't want to see the Browns go there. And Mike McCarthy's another guy I'm not interested in at this point.
I can't see. That's the thing. I can't even shoot down any of these names, Adam.
Why?
I can't be like, oh, I'm not interested in him because I who knows, man? It's so difficult because all these guys are obviously decent football coaches, but the circumstances have not gone their way. We're talking, because they're all every coach gets hired and every coach gets fired at some point in their career. And when you get fired, you get labeled a bad coach. So all these coaches suck.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. And then you got to build it up again. And right, Robert Saleh was a mess when he left. Brian Flores, it was a mess when he left. And now both of those guys are, should be strongly considered for head coaching jobs. They've built up their, value again. I think Jonathan Gannon probably is going to have to build up his value again before he becomes a head coach again, is my guess. Matt Nagy's tried to do that with Kansas City, but, I don't know, it didn't go well for Kansas City this year. He was the offensive coordinator of the mess that was their first bad year in forever. So let's see what some fans are saying about the coaching carousel here. Let's see. Grass and Bass, McCarthy won a Super Bowl and has proven to develop young quarterbacks. There's a vote for McCarthy. Let's see. James says, no good coach will take the Cleveland job after losing 3 number 1 picks and a $250 million cap problem. The 3 number 1 picks at this point is irrelevant. That's in the past. The cap situation is not great, obviously, so that factors in. But remember, in the end, we could bag on the Browns all we want. Certainly, I've done that as much as anybody. There's only 32 of these jobs, Dustin. I get it that, maybe if you have other options, it's not like the other jobs available are all a bunch of great. Like Tennessee's got Cam Ward. So if you like Cam Ward, obviously you'd rather go there, but their organization's been a total shit show. Atlanta, I like it.
Go ahead. Sorry, not to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
Listen, you're right.
Yeah.
There are only 32 these gigs on the planet, and they're very sought after and they're very lucrative.
Right.
However,
and Jimmy will pay.
Well, yeah, everyone's going to pay. These owners are billionaires.
Yeah.
Point is, there's only 32 jobs, but every year 6 of them open up.
No, I hear you. But I'm saying is like Arizona's job is not. What does Arizona have? Like they have Kyler Murray on a bad contract. I
didn't say these other jobs are more appealing, but like next year, Zach Taylor's going to get fired, and you can go coach Joe Burrow.
Are you so convinced of that? I wish I was as confident as you are. I don't know how he didn't get fired already. They're making no changes. The GM stays. The coach stays.
Sorry to open a can of worms there. It was just an example. I mean, I'm saying
so pissed. But yes.
You know what I mean?
He's going to, when his contract's up, if they don't turn, but if Burrow stays healthy next year, then the Bengals probably make the playoffs. And then
what if the Ravens and Harbaugh move on?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. That's a whole different story. Because right now, like the Giants' job, all right, if you like Jackson Dart, fine. Same with Cam Ward. Arizona's a bad job. The Browns are a bad job. The Raiders, you're going to get the first overall pick. So if you love Mendoza more, you think they're a great quarterback. then that's a good situation. The Falcons is interesting because I think Arthur Blank's one of the really good owners in the league that you'd want to play for.
I mean, go to the Raiders, and you're in Vegas, and you have the number 1 pick. You're going to have Mendoza.
Right. Assuming you think he or I guess more are great. Like if you think that's the guy. But they're going to get the first pick. And so they have it. But it'll be interesting to see who the Browns ultimately hire. My guess is,
and by the way, the Raiders have Geno Smith still, so like he could be your bridge.
He could. I mean, he was terrible this past year, but
I mean, would anybody have success in a dysfunctional organization like that?
It's tough. I mean, that's the teams. Like, you're not talking about the Falcons and maybe the Giants of the 6 open teams are the least dysfunctional, and neither one of them have been great. But the Giants, which used to be a great franchise, has been a disaster now for a decade. We know the Browns, we know the Cardinals, we know the Raiders. These are all, Mark Davis is still, sporting the bowl cut because his dad had the bowl cut. Like,
nice.
How insane is that? That's just fucking crazy.
It's kind of weird.
It's very weird. I mean, it's just absolutely batshit. But all right, let me get more comments. James, Cleveland did Stefanski a favor. He's going to go to New York with Dart, Neighbors, Scadaboo, Johnson, probably Tate, and the best left tackle in the NFL, Andrew Thomas. Yeah, the Giants could be on the rise. I mean, if you think Jackson Dart is a legitimate top half of the league quarterback, then the Giants are a good situation. They're probably the best of these teams. Even if Cam Ward is good, but I mean that franchise is just such a mess. So even if you like him, let's see, Mr. Chairman of the board, the Browns should hold a lottery with the holder of the winning ticket getting the job of the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. What do we think of that? Could they do any worse?
Can't do much worse.
You know how we used to, you and I said this many times during Bull and Fox on the Fan. We'd be like, if they just followed Mel Kiper's mock draft
every year,
they would have done better than they did for many of those years.
Yeah, most years.
Right? And we did get a suggestion recently that I become the GM of the Browns and you become the head coach.
I don't want to coach. I like my time.
Yeah, that's true. That is way too much time. Big Dog says the quarterback for Indiana is not going to be nobody. He's going to be a bus.
Okay, he might be.
Okay. Let's see. Hard Rock and Metal. Do you think that Ryan Day can be talked out of the Buckeyes to come to the Browns?
No.
Why would he? He's got the greatest job, even though he lost. He gets guaranteed like 10, 11 wins a year, and, it makes a lot of money. In the NFL, he doesn't, he get fired in 2 years.
Yeah, and by the way, even if things didn't work out at Ohio State, there's 10 other blue bloods that would take Ryan Day tomorrow.
Yeah, other teams, yes.
You name it.
We'll get to the Buckeyes later.
Tennessee would kill to have Ryan Day. or some of these other teams that are, on the fringe of being top 10.
Yeah. I'm not much of a Ryan Day guy, but, I mean, he's had a lot of success. All right. Let's talk about Andrew Berry now, this part of this, not getting fired. Because I'm up in arms about it. I think it's absurd that Andrew Berry kept his job, but
it just feels like very similar to like Deep Podesta just sticking around because they I don't know, it's like they know how to talk or they have Jimmy's ear and they know what to say to make Jimmy think that they know what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, Andrew Berry's had one good draft.
Yeah, and 5 bad ones.
One good draft. And this good draft doesn't include finding a quarterback.
Or a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. I said this yesterday. He's been the GM for 6 years. He has not acquired a single good quarterback, wide receiver, or offensive lineman in 6 years. Not one. There's no proven quarterback on this roster. The best wide receiver he's acquired is Jerry Jeudy, who had one good year and then one terrible year. Offensive line, he's acquired nobody that's any good. I mean, when he took over the Browns, they had one of the best offensive lines in the league, and now it's one of the worst. When he took over, even with its flaws, they had Beckham and Landry at wide receiver. Like, it wasn't what we thought it would be, but it was at least mid-tier. And now they have arguably the worst wide receiving core in the league.
Correct.
Right? And quarterback, you had Baker Mayfield. I obviously soured on Baker. He's been very up and down. Obviously, the second half of this year, he was a disaster. But certainly he's a lot better than what they have now.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, in 6 years, what does he have to show for offense? He has Quinshon Judkins and Harold Fannin. That's it. And somehow that's good enough to keep his job.
Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, right. I mean, somehow that's enough to keep his job. It's just stunning. But you're right. He's the one who now has Jimmy's ear. And here's what makes this even worse, right? So they hire. So Andrew Berry's supposedly going to pick the coach. Obviously, Jimmy Haslam's going to have involvement, but they said Andrew Berry's going to pick the coach. So now Andrew Berry hires a coach. If they have a terrible year next year, there's a decent chance Andrew Berry gets fired next year. And now you have a second-year coach coming off a bad year, and there's a new GM who didn't hire that coach.
You've already done more thinking in advance
than
Jimmy Haslam's done in his life.
That's probably true.
Because of course that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, yes.
Like next year, when things don't go well, because they won't.
No.
It'll probably take 2 years to get this thing kind of turned in the direction you want, and next year it won't happen overnight.
Yep.
And there will be pressure on Berry.
Yes. Right. He better have a slam dunk in this draft again.
Yeah, and by the way, the pressure on Berry from the media and the fans and the owner only makes his job tougher.
That's right.
Because now all of a sudden he's puckered up trying to make, if I don't, all of a sudden he feels like he's got 1 year to prove himself.
Yeah.
Well, then he becomes maybe too aggressive.
That's right. And maybe makes decisions that you wouldn't make if you were comfortable with your long-term outlook. Yeah, it's not a great situation, but I mean, unfortunately, the only thing we do is just hope for the best. That's where we're at, that they, somehow luck into a good coach, and somehow, whether it's Shedeur Sanders or someone else, luck into a good quarterback. They're not going to be able to get to one of the first two quarterbacks in this draft. Do you know if they would have lost the last two games? Not that I'm not killing the coach.
They'd have the number one pick.
Yeah, they would have had the number one pick if they lost the last two games, because they played the easiest schedule of the teams in the top 10, so they would have had the tiebreaker.
It's so funny to me that Stefanski ends up winning the final two games against division rivals.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't just keep him because he wins those games, but it is just kind of ironic that on the way out he holds the Browns back by being too good.
Yep. One other thing on the Browns before we get to the Buckeyes. Myles Garrett obviously broke the record on Sunday with about 5 minutes to go.
Zach Taylor's a clown.
I didn't like that at all. I agree.
What a clown. Game's meaningless. You're fighting for your lives? Okay.
You should have been fighting for your lives in the middle of the season, Zach Taylor.
You're not fighting for your lives. The season's been over for months.
Yeah. I can't stand him. I was surprised Jamar Chase said that, because he said something about it too. I
didn't see what Chase said.
Because I love Chase, and I think he gets it, and he's obviously a great player. I was very disappointed in him saying that. Now, the only thing I would say in the Bengals' defense there is the officials should have told him that they were going to do that if he broke the record. They should have been given a heads up on that, but still, don't whine about it after the game.
It's not like everyone in the building, including all the players, didn't know that the record was on the line.
Right.
It'd be like going to a game where LeBron James is going to break the all-time record for
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's going to happen, and you're like, okay. No one told us they were going to stop the game.
Yeah.
Okay, it's LeBron's set a record.
They didn't even stop the game very long, because most of the celebrating was on the sideline.
Right.
So I just thought that you sound like an idiot when you say stuff like that. Zach Taylor came off like an absolute fool, as he often does. All right, let's talk about the Buckeyes. Just a brutal performance in the quarterfinals. I think a lot of people were going to use these teams on a bye always lose, and then Indiana just destroyed Alabama to kill that narrative. What do you make of what happened to the Buckeyes in this game?
What do I make of it? Well, I mean, I think that they were shell shocked a little bit by how talented the front four was for Miami. I didn't think our game plan was strong out the gates. I thought Julian Sand looked like a little bit of a rookie early in the game.
Yeah.
I think he settled in a little bit. Didn't love the lack of aggression on the final drive where they basically played for the field goal and then they missed the field goal. Which, by the way, if they get that field goal, I do think it's a huge momentum, and you needed those points, by the way, because you were down 3 at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to take away from Miami. I mean, Miami played a great game. They pretty much kicked our butts in the trenches. You know, we had a right guard getting his first action.
Yeah.
Had a rough day with those dudes, and I don't know. I mean, what do you say? Miami's hot at the right time, dude.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's what the Buckeyes got hot last year.
They're favored to beat Ole Miss on Thursday, and
yeah,
they beat Ole Miss. They're in the national championship, you know, and they would have beaten A&M, Ohio State, and Ole Miss. I mean, if you get to the Natty and you beat all those teams, and oh, by the way, they did beat Notre Dame this year, so like they've beaten a lot of blue bloods.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you look back, it's so funny. You know, Ohio State didn't beat anybody.
No.
I mean, they beat, obviously, Penn State and Michigan, but those teams are both just okay this year.
What's funny, though, is actually the loss to Indiana makes Ohio State look good.
Yeah, because Indiana's just killing everybody else.
Destroyed everybody. Destroyed Alabama.
Indiana, we'll talk more about it on Thursday because, obviously, the Miami-Ole Miss game's Thursday night, and the Oregon-Indiana game is Friday night. But and both spreads are pretty low. I think Miami's favored by 3 and Indiana by 3.5.
3 or 4 points.
Yeah. What's your early lean in these two games?
Like both dogs.
Interesting. So you think it's going to be an Oregon Ole Miss?
I didn't say that I like both dogs to win.
Oh,
I like both dogs.
That's cutting it close.
I think in toss-up games, I'd rather be getting field goal and a hook.
Yeah. It's interesting that the guys who could end up being the top 2 picks in the draft at quarterback are going to play against each other. That's fun in the Oregon-Indiana game.
I mean, essentially, they're playing for a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, for the number 1 pick. I guess it's not that much difference, but still, you know, there's a lot on the line. It's very similar to Ohio State when they played Indiana. The winner of that game was going to win the Heisman.
Right.
And Fernando did. And in this week, dude, I don't know, man. I watched that. I was very disappointed in my Texas Tech offense.
Yeah, I know you were so high on them all year.
I mean, did you watch much of that game?
I didn't watch a lot of that one. No.
Their defense is – I still think their defense is the best in the country. And Oregon – I mean, they shut Oregon down until – I mean, they got the late touchdown and made it look a little bit worse than it was. I mean, I don't know. I think Oregon's got a chance to win the whole thing.
All right. I mean, at this point, any of the 4 teams.
There's 4 teams left, and they're all amazing.
They're all pretty
teams.
close, right? I mean, I'll say this, you know, for all the complaints about college football, and you know I'm not a big college football guy. I mean, you got some new teams in the mix here.
Absolutely.
You know,
new
and
teams.
I think that's fun. You know,
I mean, Miami hasn't won a Natty since 2000.
Right.
So it's been 25 years. Ole Miss, when's the last time they won a Natty? The 60s?
I have no idea. Well, Indiana never.
Indiana never. Did Oregon win one?
I can't remember.
With Chip Kelly? I can't remember.
Let's see. Let's see. Okay. College football championships. That didn't bring up everyone. Here's the winner. So what years was Chip Kelly at Oregon? Oh.
Well, they lost.
Oregon didn't win.
No, they've never won one, right?
No.
Okay.
And Ole Miss, I have no idea. I don't know any clue.
Oregon went to the final in 2010 and 2014. They lost to Ohio State in 2014. Right. In 2010, they lost to Auburn. Remember, that was the Gene Chizik coach team.
I don't remember that.
2011. You remember that?
Yeah.
That was Cam Newton.
Okay. Now I'm
on the Auburn Ducks.
I'm looking at Ole Miss. Let's see.
They won one way back.
Oh, you got.
See, I said the 60s.
Good job out of you.
Thank you.
They tied, though. Those were days where like they were co-champions. They tied. They and Minnesota both were named champions. Yeah, that's. I mean, so yeah,
Indiana's never won a natty.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of championship medal in this group of teams. So it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be absolutely fun. Yeah. All right, thanks to Alex and Z for producing today. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. Dustin and I will both be. You're on UCSS today, right? We'll both be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today. I'll have Zach Jackson on this show tomorrow, and then Dustin and I'll be back live Thursday at 9 a.m. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here? It's the Bull and Fox in the Bullpen, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.